In this lesson, we'll set up custom parameters for the fingers and toes. So in this level, we're taking a look at just one way we can approach rigging our fingers and our toes. By the next level, we'll take a look at yet another approach. That way you can find out which one works best for you. So what we'll do is create a bend channel per control, and then we'll go ahead and tie the bend axis of each finger and toe bone into that bend channel. Of course, by the end, you might experiment with creating several more channels for more control over each finger, but this just gives you an idea. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll grab our left arm control and we'll create an attribute holder. Alright, great. Let's go ahead and right click and rename this attribute holder to finger controls. Alright, from here, we're ready to create a custom parameter. So let's press Alt-1, and we'll go ahead and name this bend. Our from range we'll have set to -360, and our to we'll have set to +360. This gives animators a lot of room to work with. Great, so from here we can now click on Add. So now we need to figure out what axis we need to tie down. Let's go to wireframe mode with F3. We'll grab our thumb bone and then select our rotate gizmo. So clearly it's going to be the y-axis for each finger bone. Let's just go ahead and double check that. That looks good on the left side. Let's go ahead and take a look at our right side. Again, it's going to be the y-axis. Now for the toes, it's probably going to be a different axis. So if we were to grab one of those, you'll see that it's actually the z-axis we need to tie down. Alright, great. So let's say we go ahead and get back to it. Now, it's a good idea to make sure that we have frozen the transforms of each finger bone so that they're all zeroed out, because we're going to tie them directly into this bend channel that's also at 0. If we were to grab the second bone in our thumb's chain, you'll see that its orientation looks like it's a bit off. You can see how the bone's kind of slanted, but the gizmo tells us differently. If you see something like this, it's just a matter of freezing your transforms. So if we were to go ahead and Alt-right-click and choose Freeze Transform and choose Yes, take a look at how that has updated the orientation. That's much better. So again, it's always safe to just go through and grab all of the bone objects that you'll want to tie down. With all of those selected, you can Alt-right-click and go ahead and freeze their transforms. Alright, so now they're at 0 value. So now it's time to control them. Let's grab our arm control, and we'll head over to Animation, Wire Parameters, and take a look. Here's how we can access wire parameters, and here's the hotkey. And then when we're done wiring, you'll notice that we are brought into a wire dialog, and here's the hotkey for that. Again, if you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to take a look at Introduction to Rigging and Introduction to Character Rigging. You also, of course, use this for character rigging for production and advanced character rigging in 3ds Max. Because it's just so helpful, it's just a great tool. Now, another way to access our wiring dialog is to simply right-click and use our quad menu. So with our arm control selected, we'll choose Wire Parameters, and that's going to be Modified Object, Finger Controls, Custom Attributes, and we'll grab Bend, and we'll tie that into our thumb root. And remember, it's going to be the Zero Euler y-axis. So now we need to choose what direction we'd like to connect in. Clearly that's going to be this lower arrow because we want the bend to control the y-axis. But take a look, we can swap that if we'd like, or we can create a bidirectional tie-in. Now you have to be really careful with this top choice because yes, it's great for simple connections, but as our rigs get more complex, you probably want to stay away from that because you might notice a bit of instability. Alright, so be really careful about that. Alright, so what we'll do is go ahead and use this lower arrow, and we'll choose Connect. You can see the connection has been made. You can see how our parameters have now been color-coded. Green means that it's the controlling parameter, and red means that it's being controlled. If you'd ever like to disconnect this, simply click on Disconnect. Or if they're connected, if you need to go ahead and update this expression, which we will, you'd simply go ahead and choose Update. Now let's go ahead and take a look at something. I'll minimize the wiring dialog, and I'll start to use the bend channel. So you'll see that, yes, we're getting control, but it's very harsh. So if you'd like to get some finer control, we can use a simple expression to do that. See, 30s max interprets rotation as radians. So we just need to tell the expression to do that, to do just that, to convert degrees to radians. So here's what we'll do. Before bend, let's go ahead and type in deg to rad. So that's capital D, T, and R. And then from there, we'll go ahead and put bend in parentheses. So 3ds Max knows what to apply this function to. Now we can choose update and take a look at what happens. I'll go ahead and minimize the wiring dialog. You see that as we start to use the bend channel, we're getting finer control. It's much more animator friendly. Beautiful. Alright, so that's how we would control the other fingers. Again, we just do a direct tie-in. So with our ARM control selected, we can go ahead and right-click and choose Wire Parameters. Or if you'd like to work with the wiring dialog, I'll go ahead and show you. I'll actually close this out, and we'll press Alt-5. Remember, that's the hotkey to load in the wiring dialog. At that point, you can go ahead and use Refresh to load in the object you'd like to work with. So there is the control object. I'll go to the next thumb bone and go ahead and refresh that to load it in. And now we need to go ahead and find the parameter to tie down. So we'll go ahead and search for that on our left side. So that's transform, rotation, 0 Euler, and it's the y-axis. And here is our bend channel. So we'll use the lower arrow, and then we'll go ahead and type in our function, deg to rad, and then we'll go ahead and put bend in parentheses. Now we can choose connect, and we can start to work with our bend channel. Very nice. So what we get is this type of additive rotation. So by the end, our hand should be able to ball into a type of fist. Very cool. Now if you wanted your fist to be more refined, you could always work with the reaction manager so that you can set the exact pose you'd like to see. So again, we have several options here, several ways we can approach rigging these secondary areas on our characters. All right, beautiful stuff. So I'm going to leave the others up to you. Again, we're using the exact same steps. When we get to the feet, remember, we're tying in the z-axis of our toe bones. But that's really the only thing that's different. So let's go ahead and do that for the other fingers and toes. I'll go ahead and stop the lesson here. In between lessons, I'll go ahead and get the others connected. And then by the following lesson, we're ready to do some cleanup work.